Hello, I'm going to start this session by getting you to do a piece of maths. And here it is, it's the sum 2 plus 3 times 4. So before I say any more, I'd like you to pause the video, do that question, and I will see you back in a second. Okay, so how did you do? Well, I think you probably have one of two numbers down. You probably either thought the answer was 20 or you thought it was 14. Probably most people have one of those two numbers. And just to be clear, right from the outset, one of those is right and one's wrong. The right answer is 14. But let's think for a minute why people may have put 20. If I give this to a class when I'm teaching, I frequently find that half the class may put the answer down initially as 20. So where do people get 20 from? Okay. Let's write that again. What a lot of people do, or they assume, is that if you've got multiple operations like a plus and a times, what you do is you just start on the left and you work your way across. So 2 plus 3 is 5 and 5 times 4 is 20. Unfortunately, that rule is just not true. That's not the way it works. There's a rule, and that rule's been in place for a long, long time. And that rule says if you have a plus and a multiply in the same sum, the multiply beats the plus. You multiply before you add. So 2 plus 3 times 4, again, is 2 plus 12. 3 times 4 is 12, and 2 plus 12 is 14. So multiplying beats adding. Let's just try another one of those. Let's just try 5 times 3 plus 1. So what should we do first here? Well, again, we've got a multiply and a plus, and in this case we do the multiply first. So here we do the first thing on the left first. So that 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1, and 15 plus 1 is 16. Or we might have another 10 plus 2 times 7. What do we do first? Well, again, we do the multiply first, so that's 10 plus 14, and 10 plus 14 is 24. So we always multiply before we do a plus. Now, if you got the answer 14, you probably know where I'm going with this. There is a word that we use in maths, and that word is BODMAS. Now, BODMAS is not a real word. BODMAS is an acronym. Each of those letters stands for something. So let's think about what they stand for, first of all. So B stands for brackets. O is order. I should say as well, some people call O other. Some people call it, don't say BODMAS, they say BIDMAS, and I standing for indices. So you sometimes see that. Indices meaning powers. So whichever you say, BODMAS, BIDMAS, doesn't matter. It just means powers, like squared, cubed, that kind of thing. D is divide. M is multiply. A is add. And S is subtract. Okay, so that's what they stand for. What's the point? The point of BODMAS is it tells you the order that we do stuff. If we have more than one different operation, like plus, times, divide, whatever, more than one different operation in the same sum, we do it in this order here. So we always do brackets before we do powers, before we do divide or multiply, before we do add and subtract. Let's have a look at a few examples of that now then. Right, okay, so imagine we had the sum 5 times 3 squared. Okay, so what we're going to do first here? Well, we've got a multiply, but we've also got a power, notice, 3 squared. So what we're going to do first? Well, again, coming down the list here, we can see powers beats multiply. So 5 times 3 squared is 5 times, well, 3 squared is 9, so that's 5 times 9. And 5 times 9 is 45. I quite like to write out a second line here rather than do it in my head. You can do it in your head. Many of you, by the way, will have a calculator for your exams. Great, that's fine. But if you don't have a calculator, definitely it's a good idea, I think, to write it out as a second line down here. Even if you have a calculator, people still make mistakes with BODMAS, as I'll explain towards the end of the lesson. Right, let's try another one. 100 minus 7 squared. Okay, so we've got a subtract and we've got a powers. So what we're going to do first, well, again, coming down the order here, we can see powers beats subtract. So we're going to do the powers first. So 7 squared is 49. That's 100 minus 49. And 100 minus 49 is 51. So we do the powers before we do the subtract. Let's throw a bracket in. Okay, so we'll go 5 plus 3 times 6. Okay, so brackets beats everything. Brackets, if you like, sort of promotes the plus, or it sort of helps out the plus. So in this case here, even though we've got a plus, because it's inside brackets, we do the brackets first. So that becomes 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 times 6, and 8 times 6 is 48. We try the one with brackets. Let's go for 6 plus 2 squared. Okay, so again, we've got brackets. We've also got a power. We've got a plus, but because that's inside the brackets, we do the brackets first. So 6 plus 2 is 8 squared, and 8 squared is 64. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, let's go for 100 minus 7 plus 3. Now here's where a little confusion can come about. Notice I put these lines here across like that. What I'm trying to suggest with that is that divide and multiply and add and subtract aren't, it's not that divide, if you like, beats multiply or add beats subtract. These are, if you like, on the same level. You sometimes see BODMAS written out like this, with them on the same level, trying to suggest this idea that it's not that divide beats multiply and multiply beats divide, it's just that you just, these are, whichever you see first, you do first. So here, we don't look at this and go, oh, we're going to do 7 plus 3. In fact, let's just do that to show you the difference. This is wrong. Okay, don't copy what I'm doing here. 7 plus 3 is 10, which makes 90. But that's assuming that we do the plus first. We don't. Because we've got these on the same level, like down here, we actually do that differently. So we don't do the plus first, we just do it from left to right. That would be 100 minus 7 is 93, plus 3, and 93 plus 3 is 96. Right, so that's BODMAS, the order of operations. I've got a few more words to say. I'm going to just clear something off here for a second, a few more words to say, and then that will be us done. Okay, to finish off today, I just want to have a look at a situation in which not thinking about BODMAS can cause difficulties. Now this is an algebra question. If I've got a recommended kind of playlist here, and algebra actually comes later, so apologies, this is a little bit out of sequence, but I thought it's worth looking at. If you don't know what this is talking about at all, just skip it, don't worry, that's fine. Right, here we go. What's it saying then? It's saying if you knew that x was 5, what would 2x squared mean? That's what the evaluate means. Work out what that comes to. So 2 times 5 squared. Okay, here's where people could go wrong. First of all, that's not been flagged up as a BODMAS question. I mean, even in the title of the video, it's got the word BODMAS in there. So immediately you're thinking, hopefully thinking BODMAS, BODMAS, BODMAS. With all these questions, you're thinking about BODMAS. That doesn't mention BODMAS at all. So straight away, it would be easy to make a slip. What would the slip be? Well, a lot of people would look at that and go, oh, okay, that's fine. That's 2 times 5 is 10. 10 squared is 100. As we've seen, however, that's wrong. Why is it wrong? Because it doesn't follow the rule of BODMAS. BODMAS says powers beats multiplication. So what we should be doing there is not that. We should be saying that's 5 squared. So we do 2 times 5 squared is 25, and 2 times 5 is 50. Not being aware of BODMAS, not having it in the forefront of your mind can cause problems, lots of problems, particularly with algebra. So something I want you to be aware of. Even if you've got a calculator, if you're doing a calculator exam, even then, because those numbers are maybe not too challenging, they're not too, the actual calculation isn't that difficult, 2 times 5, 10, 10 squared, 100. Because of that, you might find that you don't grab the calculator, and therefore you make the slip. So just something to think about, say to finish off, just particularly when we move on to algebra, when you're doing algebra questions, or rather, just be aware of that. Just think all the time, does BODMAS apply in this situation? It's something that comes up again, again, again. Very much like negative numbers, BODMAS is something that causes people to make mistakes with algebra. And I will hope to see you soon.